My partner's little brother 15 gave me a love letter and ring and asked me to be with him. My partner and I, 21 female, 21 male, have been together for a few years, and he gave me an engagement ring for my birthday party. It was a happy occasion with his family, mine and my friends, including his little brother, 15 tied. These past few years I tried to make efforts to bond with his little brother with my partner. They had a rocky relationship when they were children. At first he rarely spoke, which is understandable, but since I stuck around and went on family holidays with them, watched films and started debating, rating them with my partner and little brother, and it really made him come out of his shell. And I really enjoyed the times we would visit and do activities together. He has a complex relationship with his mother. I've been told on more than one occasion to follow and check up on little brother by my partner as he tries to deal with his mother and get her to cut him slack. Both parents aren't perfect and seem to have designated favorites, like little brother would get 2 birthday cakes from his mother, while my partner got a cupcake from Costco, and the dad is the reverse, with my partner getting most of the attention from him growing up. As the dad divorced my partner's mother, that neglect seems to have gotten worse for his little brother. This entire situation took me by surprise and I'm still in shock. Little brother asked to talk to me alone, and that was when he gave me the love note and small ring. My stomach turned and it felt vile. He could see my reaction and he started shutting down. I returned the ring and said that I loved him like my own little brother, and that I knew what a hard time he had with girls and electronic dating, but to wait for his person. I explained that I would always be there for him as a friend, but that won't change the fact that I love my partner, his brother, and am sticking with him for eternity. I showed him my engagement ring and said that I had just made an important promise to his brother, and that I can understand why he felt upset that he didn't have his person yet. He wouldn't stop crying and wouldn't look at me, and I decided that now was the time to get his parents involved so they can understand the situation. I gave the love note that I read the first line of and nothing else because it felt wrong to me. I didn't want to read it to his mother and told her the situation, and she went to go deal with him. The drive back was awkward. I felt guilty and wondered if I had done anything that made this situation happen. My partner was furious and I tried calming him down and speculating that he has probably done this out of desperation. He has a harem, joking name that we call it, of online situationships with girls from everywhere that seem to go nowhere. Since then it's definitely been harder. It's been a few weeks and I miss the bond my partner had with little brother when playing games together. I'd even join sometimes. But since the situation a few weeks ago, things have gotten slightly worse. Little brother has moved out of his mother's and in with his dad. Things had worsened, and I think the love letter was the tip of the iceberg. It also turns out the gold ring he offered me was actually bought with his mother's credit card online, and it was actual gold, which made his mother go bananas. My partner has made attempts to talk to little brother, but I've advised him to give it time, and that when he does decide to talk to him again, that I will not hold this situation over his head and just want things to be enjoyable for us all. Partner's dad says little brother hasn't been eating or speaking to anyone, he just sits in his room. Last night, partner's dad found a notebook under his pillow filled with a lot of hateful things about my partner and his family. And while I've asked my partner not to tell me the details, it's bad enough that his mother and dad are taking him to see a therapist that deals with troubled teens. These developments have soured my partner, and it's definitely affected us as a unit. This is a no-win for anyone in this situation. He swings back from being defensive to my advice to then wanting to be proactive with little brother. Since it's happened, I overthink and I feel somewhat guilty. You handled the situation perfectly, and it's not your responsibility to fix it. Both you and your partner should stay away and let his parents handle sending him to therapy. It sounds like he's struggling with jealousy and needs professional help. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to pay back the parent plus loan my dad took out for my college education? Last year, I, 26 years old female, had a huge falling out with both of my parents. 61-year-old female and 62-year-old male. To make a long story short, my mother has a lot of narcissistic tendencies and is just not a nice person to be around. I finally dredged up the courage to tell her how the way she has treated me made me feel, and she did not like that at all. My dad and I always had a decent relationship, in the sense that he wasn't actively tanking my self-esteem throughout my childhood, so he was good in my eyes. We've had many conversations over the years about my mother's behavior and treatment. She also treats him poorly. And he's agreed with me in the past that the description of a narcissist seems to fit her. Fast forward to this argument between my mother and I, and he completely switches gears and takes her side. Instead of trying to understand my side of the story, he believes I should just ignore it like he does because she's my mother. A few months of no contact go by and my father reaches out, asking if we can chat. I call him, and the only thing he has to say to me is that he wants me to take out a private loan of almost $100,000 so that I can give him that money to pay off the parent plus loan he independently signed for my college education when I was 17. For those that don't know, a parent plus loan is a loan entirely signed by the parent, and the payment plan is based off the parent's income. When I was preparing for college at the ripe old age of 17, no one ever really explained how these loans worked, and I certainly didn't understand that it would be something I would be paying off $800 a month for essentially the rest of my adult life. To her credit, my mother told my father at the time to not sign for this loan. They didn't for my other siblings. He made the decision to do it anyway. It is entirely in his name, and legally he is not allowed to transfer it to me. Prior to this breakdown in our relationship, I had every intention of paying back this loan. My parents never really handed me anything for free, so I always just assumed that's how it would work. Now, however, I refused to take out a private loan for almost $100,000, which they wouldn't even approve most likely, so that he can get off scot-free, especially not after how I've been treated. That would legitimately ruin my life, and it's just starting. I would never be able to own a house or have children. I would be burdened by it forever. I also feel guilty because I know it was for my education, but I can't help but feel like it's not entirely fair to just dump it all on me. He was 52 years old when he signed for that loan. Definitely old enough and experienced enough to understand the consequences. I genuinely don't know if I'm in the wrong here or if they are. The guilt is eating me up, but at the same time, there is something in me that just refuses to give in to them. Not the antagonist. A parent plus loan is the parent's loan, not the child's loan. Your father wants to punish you for standing up for yourself in the parental relationship, but it's his legal and moral responsibility since you were only 17. Your narcissistic mother and useless father didn't protect you, and you don't owe them anything. So screw him and keep standing up for yourself. My girlfriend is going alone on a 2-week vacation with a single male friend. My girlfriend is going on a 2-week vacation with a single male friend, and I was not, and still am not, invited. This situation is far beyond my boundaries and expectations from a partner in a relationship. Should I consider breaking up? The issue began a couple of weeks after we became a couple. She asked if I was okay with her going on vacation with her male friend. At that time, she mentioned it was going to be a week-long trip. Since we had only been together for a month and I didn't want to come off as controlling, I said, okay, I won't appreciate it, but I can survive a week. Then, about 2 weeks pass, and she informs me they booked the trip for 2 weeks. The day after we talked, and I expressed that I was not comfortable with it at all. Her response was to explain why it was okay and why I shouldn't worry. My problem with her response is that she didn't attempt to find a compromise where we could both be comfortable. She never asked if I wanted to join them, nor did she try to find a different solution. Additionally, I noticed the hotel they chose only has bathrooms with crystal clear glass doors, as well as see-through shower walls. If you're in the room while someone is using the toilet or showering, you can see everything. When I questioned her about their choice to book a hotel with such rooms, she said she hadn't noticed, nor had her friend. A few days later, I reiterated my discomfort with her going on a trip with another single male friend for 2 weeks and sharing a room with a transparent bathroom. I felt she completely disregarded my feelings and boundaries. I also pointed out that she didn't offer to find a new room, invite me on the trip, or cancel the trip. For clarity, I would never actually want her to cancel a trip, but her willingness to consider it would show that she cares about my feelings. Outside of this, our relationship is great. We feel appreciated and cared for by each other, regularly exchange flowers and gifts, and can have discussions without fighting. So I'm torn 50-50 about breaking up or staying. Should I break up over this trip and her disregard for my feelings, or should I stay and work through it since the relationship is otherwise positive? I'm having a hard time navigating the stress and anxiety this situation is causing. To sum it up, my girlfriend is going on a 2-week vacation with a single male friend without inviting me, disregarding my feelings and boundaries, especially concerning the transparency of the hotel's bathroom. Despite our otherwise great relationship, I'm conflicted about whether her lack of consideration in this instance warrants a breakup. You can break up with a person for any reason you want. You can easily find another girl who won't go on a romantic trip with her single, male best friend. Time to let this one go. Dude, she's going to a couple's resort with another guy. For 2 weeks. Yeah, no. This is not a vacation friends take together. Am I the antagonist for telling my overweight friend to stop acting like a victim about her weight? I, a 23-year-old female, have a best friend, who is a 22-year-old female named Jen, who I've been friends with since the 3rd grade. Jen has always been a bit overweight, but in recent years she has put on a lot of weight. She is 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighs 300 pounds. I have never once throughout our friendship made comments about her weight or treated her differently. In the past year, I noticed Jen bringing up her weight more often in conversation. We went on a road trip once with a few of our other friends, and she seemed to want people to insult her during the trip. During one of our longer drives, she ate the majority of our road trip food, but no one honestly cared. Until she brought it up. Jen said, "I'm so fat I ate so much when your other friend, May, spent so much time preparing it." May just said, "No worries, the food was made to be eaten." I added, "Yeah, and we're only an hour away now. It's no big deal." She brought it up a few more times during the drive, and we all just brushed it off. Little instances like this started happening more often, and I honestly felt like I needed to walk on eggshells whenever we hung out. It was almost like she wanted me to slip up and say something fat-phobic. At this point, 90% of our conversations had become about people bullying her because of her weight. Recently, Jen told me her doctor prescribed her Ozempic for weight loss. She told me she was worried about what others would think, and I told her that she doesn't have to tell anyone. A week later, Jen tells me she told a few friends about Ozempic and that one of them was being judgmental because they asked if the injections were working. Jen was crying when she told me and I tried to be sympathetic. But she literally blabs about all of her personal issues to everyone, and this wouldn't have happened if she kept her medical issues private. Jen tells everyone about the antidepressants she's using, how she struggles with her eating, depression, anxiety, etc. I used to think that she only told me, but she has literally been venting to everyone. During one of our conversations, Jen was bad-mouthing one of our friends, Emma, because Emma said, according to Jen, "It's hard for me to gain weight." I kind of snapped at her. Jen said that Emma was being fat-phobic. I am also close with Emma, and I know she struggles with a metabolic disorder. I told Jen that everyone has their own issues, and the world doesn't revolve around her weight. I then brought up the instance of our road trip and told Jen that she was almost instigating a problem when there wasn't one. I then told her to stop acting like a victim when she has several close friends who love her regardless, and that I was tired of walking on eggshells around her. Jen started crying, told me that I was just as superficially judgmental as people who bullied her for her weight, and that she never wants to speak to me again. Am I the a-hole? That sounds exhausting. It's clear Jen wants some form of validation she's not getting and doesn't know how to ask for. By making everything about her weight, she's creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that all people see in her is her weight. Hopefully she is able to hear the message behind your frustration and reflect that maybe her behavior needs to change a little. Am I the antagonist for laughing when my mother-in-law and sister-in-law got chewed out by my fiance? I, 27-year-old man, am getting married to my fiance, 26-year-old woman, later this year. She's an incredible woman, and I'm the luckiest man alive to have her in my life. Unfortunately, she comes attached to a very entitled and self-absorbed family. I genuinely don't know how my fiance ended up as amazing as she is, with these people around. The main players in this conflict are my mother-in-law, 53-year-old woman, and sister-in-law, 24-year-old woman, to be. When my fiance and I announced our engagement last year, sister-in-law had a complete breakdown, throwing a full-on tantrum that she deserved to get married first and my fiance should be forced to wait. I was so confused by this reaction, but my fiance just looked bored, which confused me even more. Apparently her sister does this a lot when she feels she deserves something more than my fiance. Mother-in-law took sister-in-law's side, saying that dating wasn't as easy for her. My fiance always tells them off for being annoying and ridiculous, and they hate it, which is kind of funny to me. So here's where I need some help. 3 weeks ago, I got into a nasty car crash and my left leg is broken in multiple places. The doctors say I'll likely have a permanent limp even after I heal because of how bad the injury is, and might even need a cane. My fiance is an absolute angel and has been by my side every step of the way. I'm going to need a couple of different surgeries and some serious physical therapy before I can properly walk again, and she's been pushing my wheelchair since I got home. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law stopped by yesterday, and that's where the trouble is. Sister-in-law asked my fiance when she would be leaving me, flat out, while I was in the room. Mother-in-law also chimed in saying a wheelchair or cane would look horrible in wedding pictures, so it would be best for her to cancel and leave. I was horrified. I didn't even get to open my mouth before my fiance went absolutely ballistic at her mom and sister. She told them that they were delusional if they believed she was that shallow. She kicked them out almost immediately, saying she was done and over their nonsense. They both looked like they sucked on extra sour lemons. I couldn't help laughing at their expressions. This was apparently what did it for them, and they both huffed off, still insisting they were just looking out for my fiancé. I laughed for a solid couple of minutes before calming down. My fiancé just looked so exhausted, so we had some cheer-up snuggles. I've been getting messages from sister-in-law all day saying that me laughing at them wanting my fiancé to not have to spend the rest of her life looking after me was completely uncalled for, and I'm in awe. She makes it sound like I'm completely paralyzed and I'll need 24/7 care until I die. I don't think I did anything wrong, but what do you all think? Should I have kept my laughter to myself? Am I the a-hole? The only thing you've done wrong is not blocking these morons' numbers. You could ask your fiancé how you can support her in her decision-making about her family, and maybe get her some flowers to say thank you for standing up for your relationship and generally being an awesome human. I refuse to let my mother-in-law be present while I give birth. We think she'll try to show up anyway. How can we stop this? 2 years ago, I, 29 female, married my long-term boyfriend, 29 male, who I've known since high school. I've also known his mother, 63 female, a long time as a result. My relationship with her runs hot and cold. She has an overbearing personality, and I often get the sense she feels threatened by me in some way. She's a single mom, and while she has 2 other daughters, she seems to regard my husband as her favorite. Her attitude towards mental health are also questionable. I was diagnosed with autism last year and noticed a significant shift in how she was with me. Think there are no mental illnesses, only people with excuses, and that's about her mindset. Sorry to ramble, but I wanted to give context about what she's like to start off with. We don't tend to see her as much now we're married. My husband made an effort with that, because while he still loves her, his mom's relationship with all 3 of her children is difficult. I am currently 7 months pregnant, and when we announced it to the family, his mom was overjoyed. She made a big fuss of her son becoming a daddy, and went nuts buying expensive baby things, items she would keep in her home so her grandchild could visit without talking to us about that first. We felt this was a major overstep and made us uncomfortable, so my husband spoke to her and she backed off. Recently though, my husband and I attended a family party that my mother-in-law also went to. During the evening, she took me aside and asked if she could be in the hospital room with me when I gave birth. I definitely didn't want this. I get overwhelmed easily, and birth is going to be stressful enough. I only want my husband there. To reduce any risk of getting so stressed, I just shut down. Throwing my mother-in-law into the mix would absolutely not be a good idea. I politely explained that I planned on only having my husband with me and explained my reasoning. My mother-in-law told me it would be a momentous occasion for her and emphasized how much she wanted to be there. I took a deep breath and explained again that I did not want anyone there but my husband. She resorted to begging me to let her be present, and when I still refused, she rolled her eyes and scoffed at me before walking away. She gave me dirty looks the rest of the party. Cut to the next morning and my husband is bombarded with messages, not just from my mother-in-law ranting about how bad of a daughter-in-law I am, but from extended family, imploring me to reconsider. Apparently my mother-in-law went crying to several family members about being banned from the delivery room. She went on to tell my husband and extended family that she'd still show up, but just sit outside and come in when the baby's born. I hate the idea of this, and even then I know she'd just bust into the room anyway. My husband is furious with her, as are his sisters, who I actually get along great with. My problem is I don't know how to actually prevent her from trying to get into the delivery room. I'm distraught because this means I'm going to have extra stress when I'm giving birth, anticipating her coming in. She's overstepped so many boundaries, but this is the last straw. The stress of all this is making me sick. Do you guys have any suggestions on how we could prevent this from happening? Is there anything we as a family could say or do to stop it? I'm so scared she'll show up and cause a huge scene and make it all about her while I'm having my baby. Make sure to communicate to the hospital staff that you do not want your mother-in-law in the delivery room and be clear about it. Don't inform her or anyone who may tell her when you go into labor. Your comfort and peace of mind should be the priority during this special time, so set your boundaries firmly and respectfully. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.